Well, you know everything's gonna be a breeze. At the end, will no doubt justify.
What are you doing in there?
That's better. How did you even get in there? Here, follow me. Hi, my name's Morgan Kenner-Asbury, and not only am I a student at the Dublin Kaufman High School, but I'm also a student at DACC's Zoo School. And this year, I did an interaction study in between the bats and the blue-faced honey eaters.
What it seems, everything is not what it seems.
These are the large flying foxes, or Pteropus vampirus, that we have here at the zoo. All of these bats are females, and their names are Morningstar, Barb, Beatrix, Asterth, Juma, Jellybelly, Belle, Jubilee, Mystic, and Tina Fey. You can differentiate the bats because of the bands on their thumbs and their facial markings. Most of the bats we have came to us in 2006 when AsiaQuest first opened. Mystic and Tina Fey came about 2 or 3 years ago. All of the bats came from the Luby Bat Conservancy in Florida. These are the blue-faced honey eaters, or Entomyzon cyanotus, that we have here. The birds did not have names when I began to collect data, so I got to name them. These birds are all boys, and their names are Oliver, Rufus, and Bertram. Additional information is not known about them at this time. I was interested in doing a study on the large flying foxes when I first proposed my thesis. I heard that there was going to be a new species and that the keepers were interested in how they interacted with each other. After hearing the idea of the study, I was sold. I had to come up with a goal. I had to write a research question to stabilize my study. The research question was, how do the large flying foxes, Pteropus vampirus, interact with the blue-faced honey eaters, Entomyzon cyanotus, at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium? I used this as my research question so I could answer the keepers' concerns they had when they put in the new species with the large flying foxes. For my interaction study, I had 2 different hypotheses for each species. Technically, I did not run an interaction study, but I did make a general conclusion based on 2 zone studies and 2 behavior studies. My first hypothesis goes over the zone tests I ran, and the second hypothesis goes over the behavior tests I ran. My study was an ex post facto study with a scan-style design. I collected data from about 1:45 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. every weekday. I had a data sheet that was 10 minutes long, and I also had an interval timer that went off every 1 minute. I had no direct control over any of the variables in this study.
Well, you know everything's gonna be a breeze.
I ran 4 ANOVA tests. For all 4 of my tests, I rejected my null hypotheses. This means that both species spent more time in at least one zone, and both species spent more time doing at least one type of behavior. Because my tests proved to reject, my results were conclusive. After my 4 ANOVA tests, I ran 4 follow-up Tucky tests. These tests showed me which means were different. The blue-faced honey eaters showed to stay in Zone 1 and were generally solitary, while the large flying foxes remained in Zone 2 and were generally solitary. Because I did not compare interactions directly, I had to draw a basic conclusion from the 4 tests. I concluded that the 2 species mainly stayed away from each other because they spent little time being social and preferred different zones. The keepers can benefit from this study because now they know that if the 2 species need to be put together in the same habitat again, they can share the habitat without any issues. This study can be useful because the keepers can apply it to other animals too. They can use it to put together other animals that have the same basic characteristics and behaviors as the blue-faced honey eaters and large flying foxes.